Hello, everybody. Oliver G here from the Earful Tower podcast in Paris. Now, a few weeks ago, I was at the American ambassador's residence for some kind of mingly event, and I found myself talking to today's guest, Virginie Dubost. And we chatted a little bit afterwards, and I said to her, I've always wanted to do an episode about accessible Paris, and I wondered if she'd be interested, and she said yes, she's something of an accessibility advocate. So the story you're about to hear today, to give you a bit of background,
Virginie became a quadriplegic after a surfing accident in 2018.
Meaning that she's lived in Paris before that and since it. So she has a really good idea of what this city is like in terms of accessibility from both sides of the spectrum, as it were. And we talk all about that. We talk about the city of Paris, as I always do, and we talked about the Paralympic Games a little too. This episode was recorded in the Square Santiago du Chili in the 7th arrondissement, so really near the Tour Maubourg metro station. It's a lovely little park. In fact, there's a little bust of Pierre-Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, the guy who wrote The Little Prince, with a little quote from him underneath. Worth checking out right by the Invalides. I want to say huge thanks to the Patreon supporters of this show who keep everything going. Patreon.com/The Earful Tower, where you not only help this show exist, but you get extra bonus features. Check it out. Here comes the episode. A little bit of music from Press Maxon to start us off, and then you're in the park with Virginie and me.
Virginie, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you.
I'm very glad to be here with you as well, even if it's a bit windy in this place.
It's fine.
What?
It's not rainy.
No, not yet. We stay positive, right?
Positive.
Tell me, do you spend much time in these little parks around Paris near the Invalides?
Yeah, I've been for 1 year and a half in the Invalid Hospital, so I've been a lot in the park around the building, and I have the opportunity to visit it.
You kind of hinted that there's like a secret little park courtyard or something in there. Tell me about this.
What thing people doesn't know, it's that in the Invalid building you have the Army Museum, very famous and great to visit, but around, just in front, there is a very kind garden with bench, and you can se reposer.
Just chill out in there. But hang on, is this open to the public or only people?
Yeah, it's open. Uh-huh. It's open, but usually people go straight to the museum and they go back.
Do you mean the place at the very back with the little gardens, or
yeah, in front of the dome?
Yeah.
Just in front. There is the museum, and in front there is a magnificent garden, and we can stay here.
And lots of rabbits I've seen as well. Yeah,
lots of rabbits.
Unreal.
No rats.
No rats. I don't know if I believe that. I believe there's rats everywhere. I want to talk to you about accessible Paris, because I think it's something that people don't think about a lot, but I also want to paint a picture. There'll be people who've maybe never come across your name before, and I think like a little bit of backstory of who you are and your story and how you came to be. What did you say when we were chatting? Like an activist for accessibility? Was that what you said? Or
yeah, activist. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a militant or something,
No.
but I would like to increase awareness about accessibility, disability, and to show that when you are in a wheelchair, it's not the end of the life, and you still can do a lot of things: travel, have friends, dance, do sports, and
cool. Well, I also want to raise awareness as well, so we do this together. But first, to set the scene, 2018. This is a story I'm sure you've told a lot of times, so sorry for asking for you to tell it again. But what, like, looking at your social media, it seemed that you were extraordinarily active, more than most people, like sports and extreme sports and stuff like this. So can you tell us what happened? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. I'm from Nice. I came in Paris in 2007, and I've been working in the luxury industry for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bored about the materialist and the materialist way of life I could have at this moment, and I decided to leave everything and to go as a backpacker to travel through South America in a very minimalist way of life, and to travel from hostel to hostel and to meet foreign people and to reconnect with more authentic values.
So you were kind of sick of the high-flying luxury life in Paris and wanted to try something very different, basically.
Exactly.
Right.
I was obsessed by work in the marketing department of a luxury brand.
Right.
And 10 years later, I was like, okay, I'm fed up. I need to go. I need to leave everything. I need to reconnect to myself. And then I left for 6 months, and at 5 months, fifth month, in Costa Rica, I had the great idea to get a surf lesson, and it went bad.
Just like regular surfing, like.
No, it was the first time I do.
But I mean, like not with a parachute or anything like that. Just regular surfing.
Regular surf on the beach, on the wave, but the waves were way too big, and I fell, and it was very. I panicked a lot because as my head hit the bottom of the sand, but because it was very, very shallow, and I couldn't move. I was all paralyzed, and I was draining as I can't move anymore.
Yeah.
And then, well, I would be short about it, but I was more than 2 years at hospital, and at the beginning I wasn't moving anymore.
Wow, so
Nothing.
2 years in the hospital, essentially paralyzed, what, like neck down?
Neck down for 2 months, and then I get some moves from the toes to fingers, and I get some hope to recover, and it was like an incredible recovery because doctors were saying that I won't move anymore.
Wow.
Anymore, and I would have needed breathing assistance for life.
That must have felt so amazing the first time your toes moved. What did that feel like?
But I couldn't talk, but we were amazed because it was very hopeful because it was the beginning of something.
Yeah.
And the rest of the legs started to move, the arm, and so it was amazing.
And now, to skip forward to today, now you're in a wheelchair that you operate with your left hand, an electronic wheelchair. Your right hand side is...
It doesn't work anymore because the spinal cord was injured more on the right side.
Right.
So all the right side of the body is like more injured from. So my right arm doesn't work.
Wow. I feel like as an ambulance passes in the 7th hour of this month, I feel like I could talk to you for 2 hours about what happened. But I want to switch to today because you have this interesting perspective now of you lived in Paris since 2007, you said, and then the accident happened in 2018, and then you've lived here since. That means you've seen Paris from two sides, and you're very qualified to talk about whether this is an accessible city. Straight up, is it an accessible city or no?
Well, it's very challenging to live here.
That means a no.
No. And the thing is, as you just say, I have two lenses about living in Paris, because when you can walk, you don't even think about all the things, like, for example, moving, you can go anywhere, whenever you want. And when I switched and I Comment on dit, je suis devenue, enfin.
When I became paralyzed?
When I became paralyzed and in wheelchair, and going out of the hospital, because when you live in the hospital, everything is very flat.
Yeah.
The doors are automatic.
Yeah.
Everything is easy.
Yeah.
But when you go out, first of all, the worst thing, it's the way people look at you.
Really?
But I don't know if it's there is two things. The way people look at you, and the way you feel. As you feel bad and you do not accept yet your condition, you feel like persecuted, but maybe it's just my perception.
Yeah, sure, because it would have been so
Ouais.
new for you as well. You
Ouais.
did, yeah.
And when you go out, the worst thing is the pavement, the sidewalk, the the steps to enter in the shop.
Yeah. But I mean, where did you live? Like I've lived, now I'm thinking about it, I've lived on the 7th floor with no elevator. I've had radio studios on the 7th floor with no elevator in the past. Did you also live in an apartment without?
I was living in an apartment in Birakeim, just in the 5th, next to the Eiffel Tower. And it was like a Haussmannian flat. So they were like steps, very heavy doors, steps to go to the lift. So it was impossible for me to go back to my former flat. So it was like the mission to find another flat, accessible flat. It was like 6 months to find something.
I feel like, if I had to guess, I feel like the best flats for that would be in like the 16th arrondissement, where all the wealthy old people live. Is that right?
But I don't think so, because it's all Haussmannian flats.
This houseman guy didn't know what he was doing. Where are the best apartments then?
It's the better should be modern
Yeah.
apartment, but it's hard to find.
Yeah.
And I find one, so it's quite cool. So
Is it on the bottom floor as well?
no, it's on the 7th.
Okay.
5th.
Okay, there you go.
floor.
What about though, like, it's not anywhere near the same, but since I had a son and I had to push a stroller around Paris, for the first time I was thinking about metros. Impossible. Not impossible, but I mean, stairs everywhere. There's no elevators, or, so many people as well that, I mean, I can just lift it up. But did that essentially mean metro is out for you, or?
No. In the metro is not accessible. Only one line is, but when the lifts are available and not out of service.
Which line is the one?
Fourth.
Line 14?
Ouais.
Is that automatic with no drivers, that
ouais.
one? Yeah, okay. And what happens, have you been on the train before and you get to your destination and then the lift doesn't work? Has that happened before?
Yeah.
And what happens then?
Saint-Lazare.
What happens?
I need to wait, and people have to lift me.
Yeah.
And
Is that something that if I see someone in a wheelchair waiting for a elevator to work, is that something I should offer? Would you like it when people offer to lift the wheelchair?
Sure.
Yeah.
And the best thing to do if you see people in a wheelchair in difficulty or other people, is to ask, not to push the wheelchair, because one time people thought it was good to help me pushing the chair, and I choked the sidewalk and I fell.
You fell out of the chair?
Yeah, I fell out of the chair. So it's awesome to offer help, but just ask, can I help you, and how can I help you?
You know what? I didn't expect to be doing a French language lesson here. But what would be the kindest, politest way to ask someone, can I help you in French?
Est-ce que je peux vous aider?
Est-ce que je peux vous aider?
Voilà.
Okay, there
Ou
you go.
bien, vous avez besoin d'aide?
That's easier. Vous avez besoin d'aide? Okay,
Voilà.
good. It's not just the metro though. There are a few other things that I was surprised, because when I've been there before having a stroller, I was like, never think about it. And then when I went back with the stroller, I couldn't believe it. Père Lachaise Cemetery.
Ah oui.
With the cobblestones, the stones that are like the size of a book. It's like as if a library of books fell over and the books just landed anywhere and you have to walk through it. Are there places that you have found you can't visit anymore that you miss?
Yeah, sure. I've never been there, but I want to go there. But for example, in Montmartre, I used to go there. Not a lot, but it was nice to go sometimes. But I won't go there because there were a lot of steps.
Yeah.
There is a lift, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I don't want to be disappointed if I go there. I can't because it's the worst when you go to a place and you realize you cannot exit you cannot go in like everyone.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
So are there places in Paris that are very accessible, that are just like when you go there you're like, yes, you guys have done this well?
Difficult to say that in Paris.
That's a shame.
Really,
I mean,
really
it's a shame that nothing just springs to... I saw a video online of a blind man in the Louvre, and he was so excited because they've made it very accessible for blind people with Braille, and you can feel the Mona Lisa's face on something or whatever.
That's true. In the museum, there is a lot of improvement for the accessibility for all the type of disability.
Right. So they're getting there a little bit in Paris by the sounds of it. I think it brings me to two main points that I want to touch on: the Olympics, which we'll come back to because I want to remember that, but also that you did this video Brut, that I saw that went very, very popular, where you were pointing out some of the things that people don't realize are so annoying in Paris for someone in a wheelchair, like dogs leaving mess on the sidewalk.
Yeah, for example, and I think is the thing I wanted to focus on this video. It's not to complain. It's just to make people understand everyone is on the responsibility, and everyone can help. So, for example, when parking the bike, when going out the dog, to be to have
just to be mindful about
exactly to think of other people. For example, not to park on the sidewalk with a car.
I mean, the amount of bad parking. Yeah, but it's like common sense. The amount of people, those scooters, the trottinettes, and the bikes that are parked, that drives me crazy. Just drives me crazy that people park like that. But like,
and no respect. People is very selfish and doing his life and and for example, well, it's not so the word thing, but for example, people is always stuck in the cell phone. And every day I have somebody falling on me.
People are just walking towards you without looking.
In a truc. And sure, I have the age of a kid of 6 years old kid. So people doesn't see me if.
So you're saying you're the same height as a 6-year-old kid, so when someone's walking on their phone and kind of looking, they just walk straight into you.
They don't see
You've got this cool horn thing, but you say you don't. You can press it?
Attends, faut que je rallume.
But you're too polite to press it. I don't know if I would be as polite as you. I think I'd be quite...
No, I scream, attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes, putain.
Yeah, putain. There's a good word for everybody. I'm not going to translate it, but you can imagine at home that's one of the most common French swear words. What about the reaction to that video? I just saw it before we came here now. It had hundreds of thousands of people interacting with it. What was the general consensus? Did people feel like they had seen something that they learned from, or were they guilty about? What did you...
There is very few haters saying that we can't change everything for wheelchair user. Okay, but the main reaction were really surprised because people do not realize when you are not concerned about something, you do not realize.
Knowing that I'd interviewed you today, I've been looking at the city differently. Last night I went into a pharmacy, a 24-hour pharmacy at République. Do you know it? It's got steps in the middle. There's no other way up in a pharmacy. I was like, how can you have that in a pharmacy? And then taking the metro to come here was a nightmare in terms of if you're in a wheelchair. Even like I often do these interviews in parks like this, but I have a studio as well. It's a nightmare to get into for me because the steps are really narrow. So it strikes me that just while I've been thinking more about it lately, this city is difficult.
And even when I go out with friends, I need to plan ahead to call the restaurant or the bar to check if the toilets are accessible, if the...
Yeah, because so many times the toilets are downstairs in Paris.
And to check the access. I lose my spontaneity.
Yeah.
So I need to plan everything ahead.
Yeah.
Every time, and I need to take time for everything. For example, I have to take the bus as the metro is not accessible, and the bus takes like 2 or 3 times.
Does it make you like what's your reaction if you call a restaurant and say, do you have an accessible toilet or an accessible entry, and they say no? Are you like upset by it, or are you just sort of like, oh well, there's another one?
But there is 2 things. The toilets usually you can't. It's difficult to make the toilet accessible. Yeah. But for the main entrance, you can do something because, for example, even without doing big works, you can invest in the access ramp. Yeah. It's not very expensive, and you can remove and put it. Yeah. So it's very small adjustment. Yeah. And we can invest in that. And each time I go to the restaurant or a bar, but I suggest the owner to invest in the ramp.
And how do they react when you say that to them?
Yes, it's a good idea. Yeah. And the other time when I go back there, I realized they did invest in a ramp. It's like a small victory for me.
Yeah, good for you. Awesome.
It's good.
Is there a city or a country in the world that wheelchair users just go, oh yeah, these guys have got it?
All the English country.
English? In England?
No.
Or English speaking?
English speaking country.
Why?
I think in the US, in the Canada, they told me. And even in Spain. I never been since I'm in wheelchair. Yeah. But it's famous to be accessible there.
I bet you the Netherlands is really accessible.
Well, maybe.
Because it's very flat anyway. And the people there are very sensible.
Ouais.
I feel like they know what that. I have no idea.
Maybe.
Okay, I want to bring it to the Olympics and the Paralympics. Is this something that you... I'm actually really curious, given, especially because you did a lot of sports and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself more drawn to the Paralympics or the Olympics?
Well, anyway, I will follow. I will, comment dire, je vais suivre. Yeah. I will follow the game. But this time, I feel more like touched by the Paralympics games because I know some athletes. It's incredible je sais pas comment dire en anglais. les prouesses qu'ils peuvent faire. Malgré leur. En fait.
The sacrifice,
Even if they are disabled, or if a limb is missing, they can do even sometimes more like valid people. And they have the strength is.
It's like they've overcome something as well as all the training as well.
The strength is décuplé. Emphasized.
Their strength is even more emphasized because they've got a missing limb, so it was harder from the beginning. I understand. Do you think that the Paralympic Games in Paris will also bring around changes that will benefit you?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
You think because they're going to be?
But everybody is complaining and saying, we won't be ready. It would be a shame in terms of accessibility for France. Okay, we won't be ready. We know that, but it will leave a great heritage in terms of accessibility even after the games. So it's win-win for everybody, I think.
Is there I don't think I've really watched much Paralympics sports in my life, but I'm keen to watch some in this Paris games. Is there a sport that you think is particularly brilliant in the Paralympic Games?
I've booked tickets for tennis and basket.
Oh yeah.
Basket, it's great because it's impressive how fast they move on the terrain.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
That's a good idea. I might get some basketball tickets as well because tickets.
Yeah, there are tickets left.
Okay, maybe I'll see you at a Paralympic basketball event this summer. But Virginie, thank you so much for taking the time to enlighten us on what Paris is like for everybody. But maybe we can finish on a question, like what would be the perfect way to spend a day in this city for you?
Well, the perfect way to spend the day in the city is not to plan anything ahead. If I could go wherever and whenever I want, it would be perfect. Like Shakira.
Like what?
Shakira?
Shakira, wherever.
Whenever.
Isn't she tied into the Olympics as well? Very good.
Yeah.
Wherever, whenever, just like
Yeah.
Shakira, that would make the perfect day in Paris.
It would be perfect.
Maybe it's something that will become easier and easier, especially with these Paralympic Games. And I know that the city is really trying hard to improve the city in general. Hopefully that means as well for people with accessibility challenges. So thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you, Oliver.
No, it's my pleasure. It's really nice to get to chat with you. And now I'm going to go and try and find what these birds make. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're green parrots of the 7th arrondissement. If I can find one of those, it'll make the day perfect.
No, it's a pigeon.
Well, you just ruined my day. I'm just kidding. No, look, there's a hole up there, and I saw a green parrot go in there. So I'm not giving up. But have a lovely day. And you're going into the Invalides now?
Ouais.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Enjoy, Oliver.
There you have it. That was Virginie Dubost. You can find her linked in the show notes below. Otherwise, VIRG_DUB on social media. Instagram is where she is really active. Check it out. Virginie, thank you for being on the show. And thanks for shedding some light onto accessible Paris, or rather inaccessible Paris by the sounds of it. And I'm planning to go to the Paralympic Games. Maybe I'll see some of you listeners there. Thanks for listening to this episode of the show. There'll be another one next Monday. And to all the Patreon supporters out there, thank you for keeping this show going. Merci beaucoup, and au revoir.